Today we're going to be working on how to cite evidence and how to write part of your argumentative essay. So I want to go over a couple of things first before we even get started in the first place. This is a brand new Google slide for you. So that means that you're not going to be going back to last week's anymore. I want you to think about all of the assignments moving forward as weekly things. We are going to try to have you guys, take the things that we had worked on before and move it to the following week, but in the interest of being organized and making it a little simpler and still getting you guys practice with the concepts that you need to have practice with, we just decided that every week we're going to do a brand new slide. So this week we're going to be focusing on how to argue, how to cite evidence that support an argument that you're making. So if you wrote a thesis statement before, you're going to ignore that thesis statement for now. Okay, we're going to give you guys the points that you need to argue. You're just going to work on finding evidence and explaining it. That's all explained right here in the second slide. It says an argumentative essay has a total of 6 paragraphs, as you can see in these boxes. This week, you're going to be completing this paragraph and this paragraph, because last week you did paragraph 2 and your intro. The restate and answer and concluding sentence are already completed. You will complete the C's and the E's for paragraphs 3 and 5. You only have to complete for this Google Slides, number 6, 11, 7, 11, and 12. Okay, that's it. So, in the interest of making this something we can give you guys instruction on instead of relying on those live sessions to really teach you how to do it, everybody will be using the reasons that we give you. So if you were writing an argumentative essay against mercy killing before, if you were using the cons side of your brainstorm, this week you're just focusing on using the pros. That's it. Pros only. Okay? All right, so we're going to start with the restate and answer. And this is what you guys need to know moving forward. Mercy killing is justified. Remember, that's our restate. I'm going to go ahead and just highlight it in blue for you so you see it. Mercy killing is justified because, and then we're listing one reason here. It prevents family members and taxpayers from having to pay for expensive hospital bills. So that is the reason you're going to be focusing on for this paragraph. Our next slide asks us to cite evidence. Now, where are we going to look for evidence? How are we going to find evidence? What evidence am I talking about? If you look back to your Google Classroom, you will see that there are sources listed. You can also look down here. It tells you for cite, use the articles attached to support your reasoning. Use Of Mice and Men, pages 45 to 46. That's when Carlson shoots Candy's dog. Page 91, Lenny kills Curly's wife, or pages 104 to 106, George shoots Lenny. If you go back to your classroom, you will see there's a topic called Writing Resources, and underneath that you have material called Argumentative Essay Articles. All 4 sources are listed here. So you are able to open up those documents, and after you open them, you can search for evidence to support this reason that is highlighted in yellow. You will see that you have one piece of evidence to cite and then explain, and another piece of evidence to cite and then explain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to help walk you through how to cite one piece of evidence. I'm not going to be citing all of it for you. That's part of where your practice comes in. You're not learning if you're just copying, but we will do one together. So we have the claim highlighted in blue. Mercy killing is justified, so we're not arguing that it's a bad thing. We're arguing that it's a good thing, even if you don't agree with that, because it prevents family members and taxpayers from having to pay for expensive hospital bills. So I need to find evidence that supports what's highlighted here in yellow. So I'm going back to my Google Classroom, finding my topic that says Writing Resources, and I'm going to try to remember which article talked about hospital bills. The last article we read was Pros and Cons of Euthanasia, so I'm going to start there. When I open it and the assignment loads, I'm able to read through and find at least one sentence that I can use to support the reason that is stated at the beginning of this paragraph. So I know I'm going to be underneath pro-euthanasia because it's a pro paragraph that we're writing, and I know I'm talking about hospital bills. So I could read it from beginning to end, or I could skim it. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to go ahead and read it. Legalizing euthanasia would help alleviate suffering of terminally ill patients. It would be inhuman and unfair to make them endure the unbearable pain. In case of individuals suffering from incurable diseases or in conditions where effective treatment wouldn't affect their quality of life, they should be given the liberty to choose induced death. Also, the motive of euthanasia is to aid in dying painlessly, and thus should be considered and accepted by law. Although killing in an attempt to defend oneself is far different from mercy killing, law does find it worth approving. In an attempt to provide medical and emotional care to the patient, a doctor does and should prescribe medicines that will relieve his suffering even if the medications cause gross side effects. This means that dealing with agony and distress should be the priority, even if it affects the life expectancy. Euthanasia follows the same theory of dealing with torment in a way to help one die peacefully out of the compromising situation. Euthanasia should be a natural extension of patient's rights, allowing him to decide the value of life and death for him. Maintaining life support systems against the patient's wish is considered unethical by law as well as medical philosophy. If the patient has the right to discontinue treatment, why would he not have the right to shorten his lifetime to escape the intolerable anguish? Isn't the pain of waiting for death frightening and traumatic? Family heirs who would misuse the euthanasia rights for wealth inheritance does not hold true. The reason being, even in the absence of legalized mercy killing, the relatives can withdraw life support systems that could lead to the early death of the said individual. This can be considered as passive involuntary euthanasia. Here they aren't actively causing the death, but passively waiting for it without the patient's consent. It can be inferred that though euthanasia is banned worldwide, passive euthanasia has always been out there, which can also be called as passive killing, and moreover, law doesn't prohibit it. Disrespect and overuse of passive euthanasia has always existed and will be practiced by surrogates with false motives. These are the ones who don't need a law to decide for one's life. Present legal restrictions leaves both the incurable patients as well as pro-euthanasia activists helpless, who approve euthanasia as a goodwill gesture for patients' dignity. Healthcare cost is and always will be a concern of the family, irrespective of euthanasia being legalized. So I'm going to think back which paragraphs we're talking about money or finances. Right off the bat, I remember paragraph 8 said something about wealth. Wealth has something to do with money. So if wealth has something to do with money, I need to see does this support the reason that I listed in Restate and Answer. It prevents family members and taxpayers from having to pay for expensive hospital bills. If we look back here, it doesn't say anything about hospital bills or cost. It just talks about inheritance. The next paragraph is paragraph 11. This one also talks about cost. And I know that cost is something that was actually used in the Google slide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cite this piece of information. Healthcare cost is and will always be a concern for the family, irrespective of euthanasia being legalized. So when I go to cite, I'm going to start off just by putting a quotation mark and typing this sentence. I quoted it, but when I cite evidence, you got to make sure that you're using the appropriate sentence stems. And if you don't remember what the appropriate sentence stems are, on this race handout, which is underneath this same topic, it gives us an idea. Restate, answer, cite. Perfect. We have sentence stems already. So we're going to use the according to sentence stem. According to the article, Pros and Cons of Euthanasia in paragraph 11, healthcare cost is and always will be a concern for the family, irrespective of euthanasia being legalized. Now I'm going to move on to my explain. What does this quote mean? What does it even say? How does that help me at all? We're going to start with the sentence stem. Also underneath our writing resources. It's also in that race handout. As a result, this shows that, this shows, therefore, this is because, for this reason, it can be concluded that it is apparent that the evidence suggests, shows. Let's go ahead and use the evidence suggests or shows. And now we need to explain what is the evidence suggesting in the first place. And how does that support our original claim and our topic for this paragraph? If we write something like, the evidence suggests that healthcare is expensive for families, that doesn't explain anything. All it does is rephrase what we already quoted. So we need to make sure we're not just rephrasing what we quote, but we're explaining how it supports our own argument. So thinking back to what our original argument is, mercy killing is justified. It prevents family members and taxpayers from having to pay for expensive hospital bills. Then we need to tie it back to that. So we're going to start with that topic again. The evidence suggests that mercy killing causes unnecessary stress for families due to growing hospital bills and care for patients who may not even want to live longer anyways. So here I'm explaining not just that the healthcare cost is a problem, but why it's a problem and how that supports what I'm saying in the first place. In your explain box, always feel free to add another sentence. Mercy killing justified to benefit all parties involved, not just those who are sick. So that way I'm explaining that this evidence is helping me make the argument that it's not just about the person who is creating the hospital bills, but it's about the people who have to pay them also. Then I would move on to my next piece of citing, and I'm going to use a similar sentence frame, and I'm going to look back in all of these articles. Right here. And cite your evidence and explain, similarly to what I did here. So you are free to use this if it helps you, but the rest of the citing you must do on your own. When you get to your concluding sentence, you're going to use a transitional phrase to conclude, to sum it up, or in all. Your next paragraph, mercy killing is justified again. Remember, we're going from the pro stance, and this time you're going to find evidence that proves it would alleviate suffering from all those who are in pain. Alleviating suffering means that you would make them suffer less. So then you'll find evidence to cite in this box, then explain it. Evidence to cite in this box, then explain it. And then finally, a concluding sentence. And that is how you complete your essay. I know this was a longer video and I know it's a lot of information, but what we really need you guys to do is to be watching these videos before you meet with us. That way we can help answer questions if you still have them. Otherwise, we're making the videos for nothing and you don't really know what you don't know until you try. So we need you to put in some effort. That's why I helped you through part of the citing, part of the explaining, but the rest you need to do on your own. This is your assignment for the week, to complete all of the boxes that have a space for you to type. Okay? So we've got 11, 12, 13, 8, 7, 6, 5. Actually, 5 is already done for you. So just do the ones that you're supposed to type in. If you have questions, email first. Emailing is the most important. And then when you get to the session, please don't show up and say, oh, I have no idea what we're supposed to be doing. I didn't even look yet. Okay, we're spending time doing this for you. And I know that learning at home is a whole nother process, but we want you guys to at least be making that effort and attempt before you see us. So that way we can help you. And we're not just playing our own video for you during the session, because then it's kind of weird, especially for me because it's my own voice. So email if you have questions. Try your best. I believe that you guys can all get this done. Don't overthink it. Don't make it more complicated. Just think about getting something down so we can give you some feedback. All right. Good luck for the week, and we'll see you soon.